Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here. It is 10:52 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2011. And we're looking at Earthquake 3D here. It's a 3D representation of the USGS feed over the last 14 days, and it'll give us basically a rough estimation of what's been occurring around the planet. And several other people have been talking about it, but I think it's important, and now is time to say it, that we need to prepare for another large earthquake. I truly feel, and other people do agree, I'll put links down below for several other people who are talking about this, but I think we're at the point where basically we were before Japan happened. Now today in South America, Central America, in Guatemala, a volcano, Fuego volcano, erupted rather unexpectedly. It made the news, they're talking about it, but I think it bears worthy to note that the last time that this happened, when we saw volcanoes starting to pop off in Central America, and we saw a series of large earthquakes south in Chile, that's the time right before the 9.0 earthquake in Japan, those same things were occurring. Now I'll put a video down below that I made on March 9th, and you can go watch that and compare the earthquakes listed on that to what I'm showing you here now. So again, the video is linked down below from March 9th, 2 days before the Japan quake. And I was talking specifically about the number of earthquakes and how it was something I had not seen before. Now if you compare that to what we're looking at here now, there are 4 or 5 times more earthquakes on the map now than were on the map before the Japan quake happened. But they're happening and clustering in all the same spots, only greater. So South America, you're seeing these 6.0s, you're seeing the 5.0s go all the way up the plate. And let me turn down the rings here so it doesn't look so dramatic here. And I'll give you a better idea. Now you can see where these clusters are occurring. We're seeing Puerto Rico, you're seeing it right across over into Nicaragua, up into Mexico, and then south right along the edge of the plate, carrying on up into the Andes Mountains, as it has been doing in the past. But the cluster point is right here at the plate where the plate bends and at the southern point. Now you get further up, you have a noticeable lack of earthquakes in here at the southern tip of Central America, and then it picks back up here down in Mexico. I wouldn't be surprised if Mexico's volcano Popocatépetl, if I said that properly, will erupt again. Now it kicked off some ashes a few miles high, I think 4 or 5 days ago. That's another one you're going to have to keep an eye on. But I want to show you the United States here. Now you see the edge here. You see this line of earthquakes that extends down into Oklahoma, Arkansas, back up through Tennessee, Virginia, and up into Canada. Now this is the rough edge of the North American craton, and I've been talking about it for a long time. The craton is the unsubducted plate, the roughly unsubducted plate that has sat relatively unmoved for several 100 million years by scientist standards. And what I think we're seeing here is that the weak points along here, the spot in Oklahoma, the spot in Arkansas, most likely the spots in southern Missouri and in Tennessee, I haven't checked those two, but also the spot in Virginia, are all spots where they've dug down into the earth deep shafts. So the spot in Virginia, we're talking right next to a nuclear power plant that has deep shafts dug into the earth. In Arkansas, fracking field. In Oklahoma, fracking field. In Texas, which is not marked here, also fracking field. Let me see if I can turn this down. Fracking fields in Texas, and then also at the border of New Mexico and Colorado here. So that's a large number of areas to have earthquakes associated with man-made drilling. Now that's not what's causing the earthquake. I think that what's causing the earthquake is actually the plate being pushed. And of course, at the spots where it's fractured, where they've already drilled down, it's going to give way first. Now let's zoom in here and take a look out west. Look at California. You see an open spot right here. It's really hard to see almost. I almost have to turn off the magnitudes. And you can see this open spot here. Now the center portion around each side has been showing a tremendous number of earthquakes up California. So many so that you can't even count how many there are. There's so many. I mean, you could. There's 3,000 roughly on this map, but we could sit here and look at them all day and try and name them off where they occurred. But you see this curve right here. It's coming up and curving back around through Yellowstone, back up through Idaho. It basically looks like a giant caldera for a volcano. Now, this is not going to erupt, but what this is the deformed edge of the craton. The craton itself, as I said, is up here to the north, and then the edge comes down, slopes down, and goes off into the ocean. Now, this deformed edge is bending, and as it's being pushed from the tremendous plate, the Pacific plate is pushing on our smaller plate here, and it's bending this. And of course, it's pushing the rest of it over to the east. Now, eventually, we'll start to see larger earthquakes off the coast at the mid-Atlantic ridge, and we are starting to see that. All the way up to the North Pole, you see how it's spilling over? It's literally connecting over, and the stress is building, and it's going to continue to build. And that's why I'm issuing this warning now. The warning is for anywhere around the Pacific Ring of Fire that's already experiencing clusters of earthquakes. So take a look. You're looking at New Zealand, north to Vanuatu, and then a break off, and then you get basically from Indonesia over to the Philippines, and then you get from Indochina all the way up through Japan, and then from Japan over to the Aleutian Islands. That would be the area where I'd say we'd most likely have another large earthquake. That's a huge area to watch. But when you look at the number of large quakes that have happened over the last 14 days, let me just turn this up here, 5.0 and greater. I mean, hardly any fall off the map there because there's so many. So when you see this, if you live in the area, have your earthquake plans ready. This is exactly the buildup that we had before Japan. United States, look at you. Over the last 14 days, where on the planet have we not had any 5.0 earthquakes? Okay? When there's a lack of earthquakes like that, that usually means the sign of a buildup. So watch the United States, 5.0 or greater, areas are already named, and that's, again, the edge of the craton. Anywhere where you see one of these earthquakes demarked, let me zoom back in here. So let me name the states. You're looking from southern Canada at Vancouver Island, British Columbia, south through Washington State, Oregon, off the coast of Oregon by a few hundred miles, south through California. California, you're looking along the coast most likely, all the way down to Baja California. Anywhere along in here, top threat watch. As it goes over through the United States, it does go down in threat watch, so the chances go down, but we're also looking at a 5.0 or greater anywhere along the edge of the craton. Most likely south and to the east, so somewhere from Colorado through Texas through Virginia, most likely. Canada, that's that area up here. Let's see, let me zoom in so you can get a better idea. Right at the border of New York and Canada here, right at Toronto, you're looking at an area where we've seen past 5.0s occur a few months back. Now, it's been several months since one's occurred. Since we're at an elevated threat level, I'd say watch this area up here for additional 5.0s in the next 2 weeks. Also, you move south, Puerto Rico. Now, that's been going off nonstop, but without large earthquakes. The biggest one has been 4 to 5.0. I think Puerto Rico will carry on in the 4 to 5.0 range. I sure hope we don't go any larger than that, but again, it's always good to have your earthquake preparedness plans in place, ready to go in case something happens. I cannot stress enough that I feel like we are at the point where we were before Japan, where we're overdue now for another large quake because of past activity, because of this amount of activity says to me we're due for another large quake. Okay? Hang in there, folks. Much love. If you find any information, if you find any other people talking about this or professionals talking about it, please put a link down below or put a message down below the video. Cheers.